that you've asserted privilege, you're not arguing that the companies weren't on notice that the commission sought that information, correct?
No, wait a minute, Mr. Chairman. Now, if you're going to ask me questions respectfully, you got to do it in a way that's not argumentative and that I understand.
And I'm not. But the petition identified two types of information, right? The costs, the amounts that were requested in the post-hearing data request, and I think what you're referring to now, the other types, like the type of matter it is, the
qualitative description,
the greater description of the individual matters, and what I'm trying to be clear about what you just said, you're speaking not about you're not speaking about the cost side, you're speaking about that second category of expenses. Is that fair?
the order for the first time told us that the commission was seeking that qualitative information. We were not aware of that until we received the order. That's what we said in our petition. And once we received that in our petition, we filed that information with the commission. We have every incentive to do that if we have the burden of proof in this case. If it's not privileged, we want to provide that information.
The other question about due process,
But let's come back to this phrase, this detailed analysis is not a phrase, it is a phrase that can be subject to interpretation.
That's fair.
Reasonable minds can disagree, or reasonable minds can just interpret it differently.
That's fair. That's that's why I asked Mr. Arbo about it. I think that's an evidentiary issue. It's not a legal argument. My last question on due process as to what due process requires, and I think this goes to what Vice Chair Cubbage was asking, and I think your response. I think the 5 times I think is a extreme enough of example, right, on one end. But the companies were asked a question at the hearing, and you asserted orally the privilege argument, and the chairman at the time asked you to put that into writing, right? The companies had any opportunity for the next, 10 or 14 days to assert that privilege. And the final day that the data requests were due, in the afternoon, the company finally, in written form, made their objection to the data request response. So what position does it put the commission in to afford a company due process on the due process front? Because
when did the commission change and tell us the question and put greater clarity to it? The commission continued to ask the same question without telling the company what information it meant by this detailed analysis.
Mr.